Now's when Epic Narratives gets really exciting because we're doing a track by track listen through and we're on to track 5 because obviously we did Maggie. I just released that a moment ago. Already heard that song before live, but it was nice to hear the full album version and finally hear it as a studio recording. Shambles we heard many moons ago. Protect You obviously came out recently and we even had like spoilers for that when there was the anime version. Then we had Show Them, which is the most recent one. They're really exciting. But here we go. Forbidden Tale. Now, as far as I'm aware, unless someone's going to jump out of the woodwork and tell me otherwise, I don't think I've heard Forbidden Tale. Don't think I've heard it at all. So this is like a full first reaction. Good. That's kind of where I wanted to catch up with being. Yeah, so, I mean, if I was just imagining listening to this album through for the first time, obviously Maggie, great opener. Shambles I really liked. Again, Maggie was a song that I think a lot of people said it just sounds like a catchy song. Great, totally agree, and as I said in my review, I think that's a very valid thing. Shambles, to me, has a slightly old school BAND-MAID feel to it, which I really enjoy. Protect You, again, very much a single, really liked it. Show Them, obviously a blast with the warning, but again, very much a single. So Forbidden Tale, I'm interested. At 4.5 minutes, is this going to go in a different direction? Is it going to be, you know, BAND-MAID like to occasionally throw us things that we don't expect? I remember the first time I heard Page when I opened up Conqueror and just being blown away by that. And some of the other things like About Us, we were just like, what is going on here? Love it. So, what is Forbidden Tale? Let's find out.
遥か遠く生まれる前から紡いでるストーリー今は遠く見えなくても I can feel you by my side たとえ暗闇で一人になってもいつもここで
Definitely getting that ballad vibe. The like power ballad. Big build up. Okay. Ooh. Oh, I was about to compliment that sort of nice ballad-like chord pattern they were doing there, and then this, that's an awesome riff. That quick guitar work there in the background. I thought I heard some jazziness in the background there. Oh, could have done a bit more with that jazzy section. Again, a really strong chorus. Gentle ode to the fans there. Ooh. That's beautiful, that chord pattern. With the building vocals. There we go! Get the power ballad right at the end. I love the way it's splitting between that double time and the half time. Oh, look at that. And then that's a really good riff as well. Just all the component parts of this song are really strong on their own, but they fit together so well. Okay, I mean, that was really good. Now, obviously, before we even get onto it, I mean, the next track I'll be listening to is Brightest Star, because Best Year I've already heard, as we all have. But it's just, to me, it's interesting because this is really good songwriting. I think it's interesting because this album is not immediately giving me the vibes of being as obsessed with intricate details in one way as Unseen World, but I think what it's doing, and some people might disagree with me on this, it seems to be prioritizing effective songwriting. So yeah, we're not getting quite as many sort of crazy shredding things happening on the guitars, and the bass lines are a little bit more settled in, but there's still the intricacies. It's a little bit less in your face, but the overall effects of the songs, they feel rounded, they feel big, they feel powerful. Again, I had spoken to people prior to this coming out about the singles that we'd had, and things like, people had said, well, show them, yeah, we like it. We like it as a single. Fine. Maggie is like, oh, well, it's catchy, but, and people sort of like addressing this side. But I think what we're actually seeing, because we're nearly halfway through the album, considering all the tracks that I have to skip over because I've already heard them, if we're just looking at the first 6 songs, we're looking at an album that is very obsessed, very, very much focused on melody. And I don't mean that in a reductive way. I mean that in a positive way. The music is still there. We still have the details and the nuances, but rather than everything at 11, everything is sort of underneath supporting the music. And the reason why I mention this with Forbidden Tale is because this song, with exception to that little jazzy breakdown, it's not like any particular part of the song is doing anything complicated, but the whole flow of the song is so well structured. That chorus, it has a very slowly developing chord pattern compared to some of their other songs, and yet every chord change really hits you. You feel like you should do with a chord pattern. You feel every chord come in with a punch. The chorus is, this is a good, strong chorus. You sing along to this. It's really good. The riff, when it comes in, it's a good, powerful riff. I'm not usually one to gush over riffs, but great riff. Really feel it. I mean, it uses a lot of space. Jumps around the octave. It's not just sort of all just twiddling over like 1 or 2 semitones. It's really moving around and has a feeling of grandeur, of scale. Everything feels impactful. Now, I had said prior to when Conqueror came out, I remember saying that for all the things I loved about BAND-MAID, the one thing that I always felt, and again, I'm sure, we're always on this channel, I'm sure some people won't like me saying this, but before Conqueror, I'd always said that, Conqueror came out, and I suddenly noticed, wow, there's songs on this that have a real emotional punch. And I hadn't noticed that prior to that. I'd never really felt that a huge number of BAND-MAID songs had felt hugely emotional. They'd been more like songs you'd rock out to, but nothing that really sort of hit you in the feels so much. And then Conqueror was like one where it's like, oh my God, I actually genuinely feel like some of these songs have much more of an emotional punch. Unseen World kind of went back more towards the direction of just rocking, and less of the songs really hit me in the same that way. It was a different type of album, which is great. You want albums to be different, but this to me feels like, again, it's steered back in the direction of, it's very different from Conqueror so far, but it feels like it's recapturing that Conqueror-like essence of, the songs. They feel there's more of an emotional impact to these. There's a focus on melody. These songs feel very much like they are designed to have more of an effect that I think would have more of a widespread appeal. And whether you regard that as a good thing or a bad thing is up to you. But to be honest, for me, I think this is like, so far we're hearing an album that in its first 6 tracks has great ability for mass appeal, but is not dumbed down. Yes, I'm hoping that in the latter half of the album, like, with albums of old, as you get into the latter half, that's when you start to get the crazy stuff. And I'm kind of hoping for that. I do want there to be some nutsy stuff on here as well. But I think the beginning of this album's really strong start. And I mention this because Forbidden Tale for me is such a great example of how to do that. Now, maybe I should slightly counter by saying the next track that I'm going to skip over is Bestie. And yeah, I'm kind of lukewarm on Bestie. Gotta be honest. I know it's a collaborative thing, and no offense to the guy, I didn't know anything about Incubus, hadn't really heard their music, and then someone suggested I listen to it. I listened to it. Sorry, my computer just suddenly stopped recording. Thanks, OBS. I'll move myself into the middle for the last bit. Anyway, yes, I listened to Incubus, and it just wasn't really so much. It was more like, didn't love it, didn't hate it. I was just kind of lukewarm on it. So when they did Bestie, it kind of, I guess I wasn't overly surprised. I was hoping there's going to be something more experimental, but it just ended up being sort of like it's kind of, I felt the same way about, it was like, it was good because it was BAND-MAID, but it just didn't really bring out the best. I felt like they had better songs that did all the same things that did, much better in different ways. So it's really interesting having that song after Forbidden Tale, because I just feel like Forbidden Tale does so much. The way it builds up, the way that it sort of goes through all these sections, the way that it sort of, it just goes through so much structurally. It has this beginning, middle, and end that flows, and you feel like you're on this journey, which is so much more interesting. It builds you up to so much more of an interesting place. And again, without going into super complex things, it just does that so well. I mean, for example, the bit where the beat goes suddenly halftime. I mean, that's just such a perfect example of how you can do that. The fact that you take something away and that we're not suddenly going so frantic, but now by just going halftime at just the right point, every beat just hits that little bit harder. Every beat, you feel it that little bit stronger. A lot like what I was saying about the comparatively slow chord pattern in this song. It's still like, every single chord hits you harder because it's the right chord in the right place, supporting the right melody under the right feeling. This is a song that really came together brilliantly. And yeah, Forbidden Tale, I mean, it's difficult because there's recency bias involved here. Forbidden Tale at the moment, pushing for my favourite song so far on the album. Only 6 tracks in though, so not even halfway yet. Come up to halfway, but that's a strong shoo-in for my favourite song so far. It'll take a little bit of time to tell. Because we've been hearing dribs and drabs of this album for, well, over a year now. So, it'll take time to tell. But I got to be honest, I thought that was great. Yes, I am hoping that the latter half of the album, like with so many great albums, it goes a little bit crazier in the later half of the album. So I'm hoping this is a setup for a little bit more craziness later on. But we'll get to those songs, obviously. So, as always, liking, subscribing, do all the YouTube stuff, get in the comments, tell me what you think, and until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these, i.e. the next track, which, because I had to close Spotify because of the OBS problems, I can't remember what the name of the next track is. The one after Bestie. Track 7. See you for track 7. And until then, for now, ciao, ciao.